everybody. I'd like to call to order this special business meeting of the Borough of Gettysburg. I don't have any opening remarks, so we will have a moment of silence and the pledge, please. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Would anybody care to make a motion to approve the February 26, 2024 meeting agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. We will now open the floor for public comment. Please use the podium. Please limit yourself to 5 minutes. And please list your name and address of residence. Anybody? All right, seeing none, we'll move on. Mr. Clabaugh and Mr. Gable, could you please talk to us about the PBS for the GIL Phase B1, B2A, B2B funding strategies?
You want to take it or you want me to take it?
Go ahead, you can start.
Okay.
I'll fill in whenever you need me.
All right. If you remember, during our last meeting, we talked about the frustration we've all been experiencing with not having grant awards be awarded for the Gettysburg Interloop Phase B2. However, there are some grant funds that we do have awarded, that being a Community Development Block Grant, which the borough receives every year in about $150,000, give or take. And then we also have a C2P2 grant that was awarded to the Interloop project. The issue we're facing is there are timelines for usage of the grant funds that have been awarded. So if the Community Development Block Grant monies are not expended by the middle part of 2025, the borough will forfeit those funds. So in an effort to make sure that we do not put the borough in that precarious situation, we have broken the Gettysburg Interloop Phase B2 into two segments. So we have B2A and B2B. B2B is specific to North Washington Street between Racehorse Alley and Constitution Avenue, which is the streetscape enhancement that is specifically designated for the CDBG funds to be used. So we find ourselves with a funding gap based on the amount of money that has been allocated by those grants. Our partners over at HABI have done their share of work, and you can see on the graphic listed, shown here on the screen, anything in green are the funds that HABI has raised for this effort. And then you'll see at the bottom there that leaves a deficit of, in yellow there, $728,000. There are aspects of Phase B2B that benefit both the Stormwater Authority and GMA. So as is our tradition with those partners, we have approached both entities to share the funding gap. And so GBSWA has agreed to fund $230,000 of that deficit. We think, GMA has yet to make a firm decision, but we think they are on board with a good sizable chunk, and then the balance for the borough of $273,500, which is what's on your motion tonight. Chad, you want to give any more, or is that enough for us to?
I think the only other thing that I would have to add to this is a bit about the schedule and the reason why we're having a special meeting about this. Last month I gave you two options for the schedule: an early finish and a late finish. As Charles said, in May of 2025 is the latest we can finish in order to be able to still use our CDBG money. The earliest that that we could get done is still yet this year before the construction season ends this fall. If we want to try to meet that deadline, we would need to try to get this thing out to bid within the next month or two. If all of the funding is in line, I would be asking for you guys to authorize me to advertise it as early as your next Borough Council meeting. So that's kind of why we're having a special meeting here, to make sure that we're keeping that streamlined so we can get this thing advertised for bids. Because there's still that process, you know, when we talk about how the funding gap here, or the balance of money that we don't have, that's based on our best estimates at this point. We still need to bid this project, and I'll be coming back to you guys at that point to say, okay, now here's our actual bids, and here's actually how much money we have. So we'll have that conversation whenever that time comes.
Okay. So what's before us tonight is a motion to commit some of our capital reserve funds, a three-way split with two other agencies to fill in this hole in the funding. My understanding is that the Stormwater Authority has committed to their portion, and we are going to operate in good faith that the municipal authority will hopefully join us when they have their next business meeting. And should they not, the borough would still be on the hook for that third of this deficit. So while we are committing tonight to $273,500, if this passes, just bear in mind we might still have another hole of approximately the same value that we have to fill should that agreement not materialize, but we're confident and hopeful that it would. So just keep that in mind. All told, we could possibly be on the hook for closer to $500,000 here. But as we've discussed before, this is a project that is of some sensitivity in terms of time. And we need to do this so that we can do other stuff and alleviate big problems that we have kind of cooking under the streets on Washington and Chambersburg. Does anybody have any questions for the engineer or the manager?
I don't have a question, I just have a comment, and this B2B it's part of the whole project, so it needs to happen, and it would happen first probably in terms of the order in which it would be completed, so I think, you know, we need to move forward. I also want to thank the Stormwater Authority. I know Mr. Malwicki's here tonight. Their commitment, and Happy, while Happy is not a big organization, they don't have any administrators, it's all volunteer, and they're not really, you know, professional fundraisers. They do their best to raise funds that then are turned into, you know, the interlude project. So thank you to our partners, and we hope we can say thank you to the GMA.
Yep. All right.
President, can I make two quick comments?
Yes.
Ms. Lawson is absolutely right. This is the first thing that needs to happen logistically. You have to do these utilities before you can do any of the rest of the project. That's why this is the top of importance. The other thing is, for administrative purposes, the motion on your agenda is to authorize a resolution. Charles and Harry and I also shared some correspondence outside of this. There's something that we often do with the other utility companies, it's a thing called a memorandum of understanding. That we also intend to draft, and that's kind of just it's not really a binding agreement per se, but it's something that all three of those entities agree to specific parts, and you kind of put in writing that we're going to do this, you're going to do that, and everybody kind of understands their role in this matter. So just wanted to let you know that that would also be a paralleling path here.
Would anybody care to make that motion?
I'll make a motion authorizing the preparation of a resolution for consideration of adoption by the Borough Council for the authorization of a local match in the amount of $273,500 relative to the funding in connection with the construction and completion of certain infrastructure improvements for Phase B of the Gettysburg Interloop project.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion or any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. That concludes our business for this meeting, which returns us to public comment. Would anybody care to speak? Seeing none, we are adjourned until the workshop at 7 o'clock.